Hold on tight for the next hour. You're entering into a place, a zone called the alternative to the alternative media. It's a place, a special place where even truth seekers fear to tread.
All right, people, let's move like we've got a purpose.
Affirmative.
Okay, last day of the week, folks. You're back on the Investigative Journal, Friday. That's November 3rd, 2017. Thank goodness. Boy, we've made it through another week almost without World War III, but I've got a few updates on what's going on in North Korea, as well as President Trump is taking a 12-day trip to out there to Asia land, and it should be interesting to see the little exchange between him and Kim Jong-un. I've already mentioned the best way to handle is let them arm wrestle, or let them sumo wrestler. They're both pretty big guys. It'd be kind of fun to watch. Winner take all, of course. Means if North Korea wins, they get America. If America wins, we get North Korea. Then we can put some lights there for them, for those people. Yes, electricity for North Korea would be my first goal, and I would become famous there. He is the man who gave North Korea electrical lights. My goodness, I could walk through I'd be put up on a pedestal and carried like one of those Chinese emperors all the way through North Korea. That's all you got to do to win over those people. Just go over there, Con Ed, put up some lights, get rid of that dictator somehow. You know, you don't have to kill him. Just, pay him off. Tell him you'll give him an island somewhere where he can have his own little world, okay? And we'll take North Korea, put lights in there. The problem will be solved. I've solved it for Trump already. All right, sometimes I look for the craziest story of the day, and sometimes I find so many I can't get them on the air. But yesterday's story was unreal, and I got a better one. Well, I don't know if we can top yesterday's pedophile priest who impregnated a 12-year-old girl, then said the Holy Spirit was responsible, not him. The Holy Spirit did it. Now, I've heard everything. That's the most unbelievable thing said by one of those Satanists from the Vatican. But today, Katy Perry, you know who Katy Perry is, American singer. She appeared recently in a couple of years ago at the Super Bowl. She's one of the up-and-coming New World Order occultists, and she's recently changed her hairstyle from black. She's not that good looking. I'm looking at a picture of her. I've dated a lot better looking women than her back in the days when I was young and footloose and fancy free, as they say. But now she's sporting this short hair like Ellen DeGeneres, and she doesn't look very good. She looks like a middle-aged... No, she kind of looks like a young Macaulay Culkin when he turned 25 or something. But do you believe what she just said? She was in France. Maybe that's why she said it, because I don't know why she'd even want to come back here. But she'll come back and everybody will love her. Katy Perry says, human flesh is the best meat. How do you know, Katy? Cannibalism got a bad rap, she says. Where do these people come from? She says this, human flesh is the finest meat in the world, according to Katy Perry. Where do you go to eat this? Do you have one of your special restaurants somewhere in Hollywood after hours where you go eat human meat? And where do you get it from? And she says, according to Katy Perry, who puts the exquisite flavor of the meat down to, quote, the taboo nature of the product, and the fact that forbidden pleasures are always the most delicious. Oh, boy. Is she admitting that she eats people? Going as far as to claim that cannibalism is, quote, way more popular than you may think. I don't know where you hang out, Katy, but it isn't very popular amongst the average people that I hang out with. In fact, I haven't met one cannibal ever. Now, where do you go? I want to know. Can I follow you one night? No, I better not. They'd eat me. So she says cannibalism is way more popular than you may think. Katy Perry also claimed that, quote, so many people in Hollywood tell you that the human meat is the best, the absolute best meat in the world. Isn't it against the law to eat meat? I mean, it's against the law to eat horse meat. So I guess she's condoning. They could arrest her when she returns to America for condoning cannibalism, which is against the law, Katy. So you're telling me that you have Hollywood friends who say human meat is the best. Well, they have to have tasted it. That's indicting themselves. Would they come forward? Are you going to come forward and say you ate meat, human meat? The absolute best meat in the world. It's even against the law if a person dies of natural causes and he's your best buddy to cut him up and eat him. Even though the meat you say is good, I mean, you're out of your ever-loving tree head. Speaking on French radio, the Bon Appetit singer also claimed cannibalism has gotten a bad rap, quote, gotten a bad rap, due to the squeamish, this is a quote, squeamish Christians and their hypocritical virtues and morals. But consuming the flesh of humans is actually, quote, super healthy and good for you. There are life-enhancing vitamins and minerals in human flesh that you can't get from animal meat, Perry claimed. Oh, this woman's out of her ever-loving skull. And I love this quote. Let's dissect this. Squeamish Christians and their hypocritical virtues and morals. Yeah, is it, hypocritical to say, oh, I don't really want to eat a person? And is that not morally sound? To not want to eat your fellow man? Now, what are these hypocritical virtues and morals, Katy? Is it really bad to have a relationship with one man and one woman your entire life without having these sex orgies in Hollywood? What's wrong with that? I think your morals are all screwed up. And what do you do at night at these? Do you have a restaurant that sells human meat? Are you going to indict your friends? And why don't you get a special prosecutor on her instead of wasting all that money in Washington on that crazy stuff? Trump and Clinton are together. We all know they're all together in, so to speak, the political bed. So how many people do you really know, Katy, that have eaten people? She says it's more common than you think. Oh, really? Where is it more common? She did mention Hollywood. Now, what about in France? Well, these people will go to such great, and she's protected by the Jesuits in the New World Order. That's where she comes from, like Madonna and all those top singers. Now, when asked which vitamins and minerals are available in human flesh, but not animal meat, the singer hesitated and then said, quote, I'm telling you, these people live way longer than the average, and their health is way better too. Believe me, Katy Perry said. What people? The people that eat people? Was that why Henry Kissinger's 99 or 100, or who else? George H. Bush? And she says this, well, I'll tell you what, I'm not even going to get into it. I know some 90-year-old people that don't eat people. I'm telling you this because, and I can verify it, because when I first came to Hollywood, I had to work as a waiter, and I worked in a place called Perino's. It's no longer on Wilshire Boulevard, but it was the real classy Italian restaurant at the time. And Tommy Lasorda came in most every day to eat lunch, and he didn't order people. And he's 90 right now. I'm telling you this because I thought you guys, this is Katy Perry, really appreciated good food here in France, the best food. It's in your culture. I thought you guys would understand eating human meat is not that shocking if you get over your bullshit bourgeoisie moral code for a minute. They ought to, this woman ought to just go away. I mean, I cannot believe, can you believe this crazy story? Does this top the pedophile priest who said the Holy Ghost is responsible for the 12-year-old girl that he impregnated? I don't know. They're right on the same level here. And then she goes on, wow, this girl really wanted to... There was a group of old Hollywood guys who have an annual dinner party where the main dish is human. Every guest is allowed to bring a +1. A few years ago, when I was new in town, I got invited by a good friend. I shouldn't say his name, I guess. I don't think so, Katy. Why doesn't a prosecutor arrest her and get the names? Because, it isn't really good to have people going around eating people in Hollywood. It's bad enough they're getting, the sexual predators out there. Man, I'm not going to go to one more audition there. I'll tell you what. Who explain... Okay, so she says, listen to this. I got invited by a good friend, I shouldn't say his name, I guess, who also explained that each year, quote, a new host is selected for the following year by drawing straws. Why don't you draw toes? Whoever gets the big toe of the person you're going to eat has to do the next dinner. It is the new host's responsibility to provide the main course. And it has to be human. If he can't find a suitable person to serve as the meal, well, the joke, I think it's a joke, is that the host will be eaten instead. Oh, boy. Well, I'm sure he'll find somebody to do it. I'm sure he will find somebody. I was a bit squeamish about the idea of going to this dinner party, but when I heard who else was going, I jumped at the chance. So it must be pretty famous people. It wasn't like she's going to go if it was a cab driver from New York that was hosting the dinner. And most cab drivers in New York would think it'd be appalling to eat another person, but not these Hollywood rich people. Wow, what a world. I was like, okay, I heard who else was going, so I jumped at the chance. I was like, quote, people die all the time and their bodies just go to waste. If we can use their organs for medical purposes, why shouldn't we eat their meat? Katy, I'm going to tell that. You're talking about logic and morals that are screwed up. That is probably one of the crazy... You ought to check into some insane asylum and remain there. And I can't believe all these, teenage kids going gaga over you. I mean, you better not follow Katy Perry, kids, to her concert. She may eat you. Asked what happened at the dinner party, Perry explains. Oh, boy, it was a huge, lavish feast. Oh, my God. The featured dish was what they called foie humaine. You guys should appreciate that, being French. It's a pun on foie gras, get it? But instead of force-feeding a duck and then eating its liver, this was the liver of a human who had force-fed themselves on junk food. A fatty liver fit for the kings of Hollywood. Describing herself as not terribly fond of organ meats, Perry passed on the liver dish, but did enjoy sampling human flesh during the multiple-course Bacchanalian feast. It tastes like pork. The singer explained of human meat, but a little bit stronger. Is there a law against this? I mean, she just admitted to a law of a crime of eating humans. Now, is there a law somewhere against this? There has to be. Now, Greg, you went to law school. Look it up tomorrow. You got LexisNexis. Is eating human flesh, whether it's a human that died naturally? I mean, yeah, it's a murder to kill someone. I mean, who does she go out with? Hannibal Lecter? Remember that movie? Katy Perry promoting Illuminati symbolism in a picture here. Yeah, you better believe. Look at this picture, man. And she looks halfway decent, but she's all painted up. Katy Perry's Cannibalistic confession is merely the latest in a long line of public dalliances the singer has shared with the dark side. After starting her career as a Christian country singer, Katy, where'd you go? She was a Christian country singer, and now look at her. See what Hollywood will do to you, folks? She reinvented her image as a raunchy pop star, flashing satanic hand gestures and promoting Illuminati symbolism as she rode to the top of the charts. Remember she rode that Mark the Beast into Super Bowl? Since establishing herself in the global consciousness as the devil-worshipping entertainer, Katy Perry has attempted to sugarcoat her image. However, the disturbing conversation she held with French radio hosts suggests she is far from a reformed character, and she has openly embraced the darkest forces in our society. The incident has also sparked fears around the world that the Illuminati have moved on to the next phase of their master plan and have begun openly promoting dark spirituality as a viable religious choice for those seeking guidance. Yeah, we're going to kill all you people because we want to get rid of the population, the population elimination. And then we're going to eat you. We're not going to burn you alive like we did in Auschwitz. We're going to eat you and make good use of your body. Well, that has to be perhaps one of the craziest stories I've ever heard. And I guess she could always say she was lying. She doesn't know anything about it. She's just trying to get publicity. So you're going to have to get some proof. But if I was a prosecutor, hey, what better things you got to do? Go out and look for these human eaters in Hollywood. I mean, that'll beat any story. I mean, you journalists out there, you're looking for a scoop. Get to one of those dinners and make sure you don't get eaten before you write the story. But can you believe this? I mean, look, we all know, and I don't eat much. I don't eat meat. I don't like, I've kind of gotten away from it. I used to eat a little chicken. I never did like meat that much, even animal meat. I mean, and I kind of turned into kind of a vegetable. I like lasagna, stuff like that, plus fruits and good vegetables. And I mix in a little fish every now and then because I do like fish. But never did it dawn on me that they were eating people in Hollywood dinner parties. And I guess Katy Perry is... I would interview, let's see if she keeps up on this story, if she recants it and says, I was just joking to make the French people laugh. I don't think she's joking, to be honest with you. I think it goes on and she's looking for the limelight, and she'll say anything. She feels like she's above the law, which she is. I mean, she's protected by the Jesuits, who probably eat people too, if she does, and her Hollywood friends do. I could just see it now. The Jesuit general calling Pope Francis and Trump and Putin. Hey, guys, you got to get over here to the Vatican. We got this delicious young human food here. It's of a 9-year-old boy, perfect meat. You got to get here. We're just putting him on the skewer right now. Come on, guys. And we'll get you a nice little glass of Italian red wine. Ha ha ha! You think it's red wine, huh? But we'll say it's red wine. Oh, they're making their phone calls right now. Boy, can it get sicker in this world? I mean, can you really wake up to this stuff and really say, God, I want to be here? I mean, it's just amazing to me that people accept this stuff and there's not going to be any backlash to her career, She's going to go on like nothing happened until she gets caught eating somebody, I guess. And what about healthy vegetarians? I mean, come on, are you going to come out? I mean, aren't there any... There's a lot of Hollywood people that don't eat meat. I mean, they don't eat any meat. They should come out and really say, hey, what's going on here? And I want to know who these hosts are that do this every year at the Big Bash. I mean, are they people that we would know? I'm sure, because she did say this. She said, listen, I wouldn't go there if there weren't really, she was in hinting that there were really important people there. I would not go. So basically, she's telling us, man, some of the top people in Hollywood are going to these crazy human cannibalistic meals. And I want to know where they get this food. And I won't even call it food. Where do they get these people? And there is, there's a law against eating people. There's got to be, And I mean, it's appalling. We've heard stories where people have been, in plane crashes, and they're up in the Andes Mountains or something, and that's horrific enough. But to think that they would just do this, and nothing would faze me that goes on in Hollywood. I think everybody ought to ask when they go on, what are these Hollywood shows they have, where they interview the stars all the time? Hey, I'd ask every one of them, have you ever eaten, are you a cannibal? Seriously, did you hear Katy Perry? And then she says, well, I probably shouldn't mention their names. Well, Katy, I think if you did mention a name, you would have such a big lawsuit on your hands that you're going to lose half of your illegal, well, it's not illegal money, but all that tainted satanic money that you're shoving into your bank accounts in the Caribbean or something. Who knows where this money goes? And, these people don't deserve it, to be honest with you. Here's a woman who says she eats people, and she's a billionaire. I mean, where's the justice? I mean, we got great people out there with good moral fiber and good values that are starving to death. And these politicians, you know what they're worried about today in Orange County? They're talking about the homeless crisis in L.A. and in Orange County. I like to talk about that because it's really, homelessness in that area has blossomed. I mean, it's incredible how many more people. They say it's never been so high. I know it's never been so high. I mean, and people are living in tents. And I just know of a case recently where this guy and his wife, they foreclosed on their house. They were going to make a loan modification, and they wouldn't. The banks undermined it and took their house. They're living in tents. They have 7 children at a relative's house. That's not even as bad as most people. But what the recent thing is in Orange County, there's this place where the homeless congregate, and they in an industrial area where it's okay to. And they also have people living in RVs that can't afford to live in an RV park, so they sleep in their mobile home or in their RV. And they're trying to kick all of them out. There's a big petition now to get rid of them. And what are you gonna do, folks? And then they say it's the lowest level of recorded history on the amount of people that can afford to buy a house. They say 80% of the people in the LA County area cannot afford a house. I'd say it's higher. And they say the lowest income that you're going to ever get a house is you got to make over $100,000. Now, is this a way of pushing people out? Yeah. When you watch these banks buying up all this housing, you'll understand why. And then what happens? What happens is these people get stuffed somewhere, and then they'll start eating homeless people or something. You got to get rid of them somehow, right? Don't be homeless in Hollywood. They'll put you in a disinfectant factory and then eat you. Wow, certain stories. I knew I'd find a crazier story. Maybe it's that time of year, right before the holidays. I wonder when they have their cannibal party. What time of year? Is it celebrated during the Satanic Christmas season? Or when really is it? Well, we got to get to the bottom of this story. And it'll be interesting to see if she says, oh, I was just joking, but I don't think that flies. I don't think it flies, Katy. And, oh boy, got about 30 seconds here. Come back on the second half hour and talk a little bit about NASA and a recent presidential speech with Buzz Aldrin, who, by the way, was punched by a guy I interviewed, Bart Sabrell, who did a great video called "Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon." Interviewed Bart many times. Proved without a doubt that we never went, and that started my interest in getting the real truth about NASA. But anyway, back in 3 minutes on the Investigative Journal. No eating people now. No eating people during the break. Back in 3 minutes.
The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on Internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the Internet. Then, when you subscribe, we will send you the last quarterly MP3 CD of that program immediately, and continue to do so with each new quarter. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the Scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a re-established Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
The following program is labeled dangerous and off limits by the supreme Jesuit command. But stand tall, people. Listen up, and you may just learn something.
Oh, dear Lord Jesus, this ain't happening, man. This can't be happening, man. This isn't happening.
Oh boy, that was a delicious, delicious break, wasn't it? I wonder what Greg was having on his plate. Well, I'll tell you what, it isn't what Katy Perry and her friends in Hollywood eat. And I'm not going to any of their Thanksgiving. Is it... who are they going to eat? A white supremacist or something? White supremacist dinner for Thanksgiving? You could go on forever with this story, but I'm going to end it right there. Enough of the cannibalism for one day, right? I was going to go right to talk a little bit about Trump and Buzz Aldrin. And I find it comical these guys get up in public and they talk about the space raid. They're going to do some great things in space and all this stuff when there isn't any. the way they tell us. I mean, it's all a fake, and they're making fortunes on this stuff. And Buzz Aldrin, he punched a friend of mine. Well, he was a good radio friend, a guy I interviewed many times, and you can still get his audio, video. A funny thing happened on the way to the moon. I recommend you watch it. It's really good. And if you come away thinking that we still went to the moon, then I'll tell you what, I'm going to send you to the moon, Alice. Remember the honeymooners? Many of you people probably don't even remember the honeymooners. And I'm just going to say, Google honeymooners. You can watch Jackie Gleason. That's what I do to enjoy myself. I go back to these old sitcoms like that was only on a couple years. It's really amazing that they leave The Simpsons on for 20 years at Illuminati's show. And I think the honeymooners are only on for a couple of years. And the reason was Gleason said he didn't want to do it anymore. It was a highly rated show, but he said, I really didn't want it to... We had reached our limit, and I didn't want to just put on anything. I didn't want to degrade the show. And I'll tell you what, you can watch those shows over and over again, and they're hilarious. And one of the things I always liked about Jackie Gleason was... inside stories, he never liked to rehearse. He'd come in and do that thing cold. And Hart Carney and Jane Meadows would just be astounded what he could do, because they'd have to sit there and study the script a lot. And he'd walk in and, probably playing pool with Minnesota Fats. And he walks in and does the show, goes home. Maximize your money, right? Don't spend that much time doing what you can do real quickly, right? But we got to turn back I want to go back to Dave Hodges a little bit. He's been covering, I don't know Dave, I don't know what side of the fence he's on, or if he just stands on the fence. I don't know, but he's got some good information regarding FEMA camps. I'm always interested in where I'm going to be spending my holidays in the years to come, and where I'll be spending my golden years, And it's not going to be in some island in Tahiti, I'll tell you that. Unless I can get the hell out of America. And I ain't telling anybody where I'm at. I've gotten some strange things happening to me in the last month or so. And I ain't telling anybody where I'm at. And in fact, it could be in several places all at once. Because if you listen to my Tesla time travel show, have I discovered how to time travel? Well, should I tell you the truth? Yeah, I went after Tesla went into his garage and he put 3,500 volt or 3.5 million volts. It kind of backfired, and then he said he can see the past, present, and future all at once. I could too if I get hit by 3.5 billion volts. Well, I tried my own experiment, and believe it or not, it worked. And guess what I did? I saved an old go-kart that I had when I was a kid. And it was in my garage. And I had a little motor on it. One of those 2-horse lawnmowers. And it still worked. And I could squeeze myself in. And I decided to figure out an electrical current coming from the electric lines above my house. So I figured out a way to get that current. But then I transformed it from going from 2 electric lines, bringing it together in through a coil that I made through my gym shoes out of aluminum foil. So I have my 2 gym shoes, a hole in them with aluminum foil, and I'm sitting in my go-kart. And so this was just the other day, after I decided if Tesla can do it, I can do it. So anyway, it was late at night. I put the puppies to sleep. I didn't want them to... Well, I'll be honest with you. I took them with me. Yeah, people were going to say, how do you know you're going to get back? Well, I got back. I'm right here, aren't I? But I'm not telling you where I'm at. Because there have been too many strange things happening in my life in the last month. And I don't even want to get into it. I was almost killed in 1988 in a terrorist attack in Rome. I've skirted death many years talking out of my head regarding the truth about the Jesuits, and they don't like it. But then I said, well, maybe they like me because they let me hang around. But some of the recent things, strange things I don't even want to get into and give it airtime, have left me this feeling that I'm going undercover for a while. Well, anyway, so I figured, well, why don't I try time traveling? They wouldn't be able to find me then. So now here I am in my old go-kart. I've got tinfoil in my gym shoes that are connected together. Now, see, I got a coil between my gym shoes and the tinfoil, so my whole body's now connected, right? So all I had to do is supercharge those electric lines coming down into my go-kart, which were going to transport me into another dimension like Tesla. So I had my two little puppies, who are only like 3-4 pounds each, sitting right beside me, and they're like, what's going on here? Where are we going? And I said, we're going to get some treats. Don't worry about it. So I hooked it up. I pressed the little button that I had. Said, you got to know how to do these things, Press the little button. I could see the current come down, and you could hear the crackling of the lines. I hope I didn't knock anybody's power out. And boom! I don't remember anything. And then all of a sudden, I wasn't in the garage anymore. And I can remember I'm in this open field with my dogs. And guess what? It wasn't, I looked on a license plate of the car, and it was 1947. And everything looked like, the Dust Bowl. And I'm going, what the hell am I doing here? So anyway, people are wondering, how did you get back? Well, I can't tell you, because that would give up my location, and I'm hiding from the Jesuits now. So they don't even, I'm back in 1947 maybe, and I'm still able to do my show. So they'll never find me. They weren't as powerful back then, were they? Anyway, I'm going to see what life was like back in 1947, years before I was born, and I'll report on it. Okay, so here we are. I'm back in, it's funny though, my cell phone still is like it's 2017. Yeah, it works. It's like, that didn't get affected. I took it with me. You can't go anywhere without your cell phone, can you? No. I wasn't. I'm going to have a hard time explaining to these people what a cell phone is. But you know something? There's a profit here. If they see what I'm doing, I could market these things. Nobody had cell phones in 47. I could become the cell phone king. And then I could jumpstart myself. I figured out how to get my little go-kart back, because they did have power lines there. I have my gym shoes. I can get tinfoil. I can get back. But I ain't going to tell you exactly where I'm at. So anyway, I may stay a while and market this as a new, what people by 1950 will have cell phones. Back there, in this other dimension. And I'm not going looking for my old relatives. I'll tell you, that's too freaky. So anyway, try to find me, Jesuits. You'll never do it. Never, never, never. But anyway, I'll keep you abreast on what's happening. But let's stick to 2017. Okay. Stick to 2017, Greg. Now, Dave Hodges, it says it's laughable that in the independent media, okay, we got to keep going here, in the independent media are still in denial about the existence and true nature of concentration camps in America, commonly known as FEMA camps. Might be better to stay in the past, but you know what? I got obligations. I got to come back. I got certain things I got to do. So I will be back as soon as I can find the right power lines and get my gym shoes. They're a little bit burnt. And my toes are a little burnt, by the way, from all that electric. But the evidence is overwhelming, says Dave, that certain documents we can ascertain how detainees will be captured and transported to these infamous camps. That's what I wanted to know. Were they going to pay my way for my, little vacation villa at one of these FEMA camps? One of the purposes of this article, he says, is to demonstrate that from the government's own documents, they tell us what kind of hell on earth is awaiting the American people courtesy of the United Nations. Review of the takeover of the United States by pre-positioned UN troops. Do people make these things up, or is it for real? I'm having a feeling it's for real. In part 1 of 3 of this series, and I will not be able to get to all 3 parts, it was established that the globalists have organized a plot designed to overthrow the U.S. government and the American people. Their first objective is to bring holy hell to the United States. Antifa, MS-13, ISIS. You know what MS-13 is? They allowed these gang members here, and Trump is saying, I'm getting them out. He ain't getting them out. Along with CIA support, deep state resources, and the use of the FBI, cover-up elements are in the midst of bringing so much chaos to American soil that the UN intervention will be deemed necessary based on previously covered prior agreements between the U.S. government and the United Nations. 3 days ago, Mr. Hodges cited a Fox News report which stated that UN soldiers, e.g. Russians and Chinese, will be seizing guns and imprisoning those deemed to be a threat to the New World Order. In the 3 previous parts of this series, Dave did. I documented how the UN troops have been practicing for this takeover. These articles examine the fact that it will be the UN forces that will be operating the FEMA camps of mass incarceration. An irrelevant question, he says. Some time ago, I received the following email from someone in the independent media. Well, let's read it. I usually read my emails, but I'll read Mr. Hodges. I got a couple good ones, too. Maybe I'll read them Monday. Oh, boy, some good, some terrible. Some people out there don't like me. You know, I don't know why, because my goal in life was, to make everybody love me. I mean, I can't see why that everybody shouldn't. I mean, I'm a likable guy. Now, you are discrediting the movement of the alt-right media and your crazy claims about FEMA camps, and that millions of Americans will be sent there to either die or be re-educated. Well, I don't mind sending them there if they're not going to kill them. Just re-educate them, then put them back out. I'd be happy with that. What BS, he says. You are a discredit to the entire industry, and you're misleading millions with these baseless conspiratorial claims. There are no FEMA camps, and there will be no re-education. There are no Russians and Chinese in America. You are paranoid. I suppose you believe that Hitler killed 6 million Jews. Why don't you go back to whatever useless job you had prior to pretending that you present real news? That's like the email I got. Maybe it's the same guy. I was talking about the Jesuits the other day, and I got this email saying, you don't know what's going on. You're a stupid idiot. The defender of the truth movement and the author of this email somehow forgot to sign their name, says Mr. Hodges, to their real name to the scathing communication. That's what happened to me. I bet you it's the same guy. Or maybe they have a computer-generated system that just sends them out. Let's see if this person is right. Is the notion of a FEMA camp that will do bad things to America's citizens merely a flight of a paranoid fantasy? An examination of this topic should begin with a simple question. Will American soldiers fire upon American citizens upon a martial law roundup of millions of Americans? Unfortunately, the answer to that question is a moot point. It is clear from analyzing data that they will. Point 1, FEMA camps are slave labor camps. As was the case with Nazis, slave labor will be part of the landscape as evidenced by the following Army document. Now, should I read this? Commanders must organize and manage detainees in such a manner as to permit the proper and ready employment of such detainee. Establish and maintain a current occupational skill record for each detainee. Include new skills as they are required. Assigning individual detainees to a work detail or job on a regular permanent basis. Can I do my radio show? That's all I can do. Well, they'll probably kill me then if they don't allow me to do my radio show. Establishing vocational training projects and encouraging detainees to study and develop needed skills to maximum extent possible. Labor considerations. Detainee labor may be used to perform the following: camp administration and installation maintenance, agricultural work, I can't do that. Public works, I know nothing about it. Public utilities, I don't either. I could time travel and show them my go-kart. Building operations, I've never built one thing in my life. I wouldn't know where to start. I don't know how people have ever built homes. It's amazing to me. I look at how these things get done. I go, if it was me, we'd be living in caves. There'd be no lights. There'd be nothing except how to time travel. And that no military character or purpose. Transportation and handling of stores, well, I might be able to do. I've had restaurants that are not military in nature. Domestic service. Oh, they don't want me doing domestic. You ought to see the houses I've lived in. I'm afraid to bring people over sometimes. People say, well, you don't have many guests. I say, there's a reason I don't have many guests. I'm a little embarrassed to bring them in when you haven't cleaned your house in a year. I do it on a yearly basis. No, I'm just kidding. I'm very sensitive to that. I do keep myself and my house very clean. I'm turning into Howard Hughes. From the perspective of history, concentration camps are notoriously known for being institutions of murder. Based on this notion, I scoured, said Dave, the Army Concentration Camp Manual, FM 33940 Internment and Resettlement Operations, PDF, and found only scant reference to the subject of deaths in the concentration camps. Now, wait a minute. This document painstakingly describes interrogation processes, food preparation, the transport and care of detainees, but they barely mention how they're going to deal with dead bodies. Well, they're going to send them to Hollywood, to Katy Perry and her friends, and they're going to eat them. There. In a facility filled with a divergent population with regard to age, health status, and physical conditioning, should the authorities be concerned with what happens when an inmate dies from an unexpected heart attack or stroke? What will they do to the dead bodies? I already told you. If proper preparations are not taken for the proper care and disposal of dead bodies, wouldn't that imperil the health of fellow inmates? Not if you're going to eat them. According to Katy Perry, it's the best meat available. But who wants to eat somebody from a concentration camp? They got no meat on them. That's a problem. This should be a primary concern for any facility. However, this is the one area where the FEMA Camp Army Manual is relatively silent. Well, you better be silent. Camps are, point 2, FEMA camps are death camps. From the aforementioned references, the following passage speaks to the Army deals. Why do they even have detainee camps? What are they planning? Somebody please tell me, When a detainee is in U.S. custody, the attending medical officer will immediately furnish the detention facility commander or hospital commander or the commander of the unit that exercised custody over the detainee if the death did not occur in a facility. Detainee's full name, his capture tag, date, place, and circumstances of his death, initial assessment as to whether the detainee's death was or not the result of the deceased's own misconduct, the initial assessment as to the cause of death. So he's presenting a story here where he's trying to show you all of the signs that these camps are death camps. They're going to be concentration camps, just like Hitler had. Yes, they just copy history. That's all they do, and they just change the circumstances, don't they? I did promise to talk a little bit about Mr. Trump and Buzz Aldrin. It's not that good a story, but I only have like 3 minutes. I hate starting something and never finishing it. So why don't we wait on that? But that's the story of my life. I don't know if you're like me, but the only reason I finished law school was I said I got to finish one thing in my life. Well, I did finish college. I finished high school. I finished grades. What are you talking about, Greg? You finished a lot of things. Wow. But there are many things I never finished. And that became a period in my life where it was called unfinished business. That's that period in my life, that's what I call it. And there's so many things I started that I never finished. And I started to think, why am I doing this? And so I ended up in law school, and I said, I am going to finish whether I hate it. I don't care if it's the worst thing in the world. I don't care if they have to strap me to that desk and listen to that teacher. I'm going to make it. And I did. And it was really not that bad. It just got bad afterwards because there wasn't anything in law I really wanted to do. I said, well, why did you go there? And I said, well, you got to learn. You got to learn. And I did enjoy going to school. But anyway, just to set the record straight, no cannibalism in the law school that I went to. In fact, I've never ran into anybody that wanted either to eat me or to eat a person. But I guess Katy Perry hangs around with a different crowd, doesn't she? And you got to end with that story, don't you? I mean, you got to follow it up. You journalists out there, get her on the record again. Follow her around, and find out when these dinners are. We'll go to Hollywood and we'll set up some kind of surveillance, and then we'll get them all arrested. But they probably get off because probably the police commissioners are not. Well, I shouldn't say that. You shouldn't say who's there, like Katy Perry said. But all the high-level Illuminati, Vatican-led people will be there, so they're protected. The busboy, watch out. If you're the busboy or the waiter or the cook, now who's going to cook this stuff? Who are the chefs? Do they have a chef school for this? I mean, and what chef would ever want to do that? The host said he finds the meat. He didn't say he cooked it. Who does the cooking and the serving? And do they know what they're serving? They have to because the people are all talking about it. Oh, how weird. Very strange world we live in, isn't it? Well, anyway, we finish another strange week on the Investigative Journal, and hope you appreciate some of the shows. I try to bring you a lot of truth. Stories that over the years I've covered many, many times, seriously and, non-seriously. But, sometimes you got to bring a little bit of pizzazz, a little bit of entertainment to this subject because it can wear you out. And I really mean that. I'm not talking in a funny manner. I really appreciate all the people that listen. There's a lot of serious stuff going on in the world, and we're not going to just make light of everything. And I want to say that next week we're going to put on some really good shows. And, the Vatican-led New World Order needs to be understood. And that's really why I do the show. So thanks for listening all these years. And we'll keep going next week. And go to that website of mine, greganthonysjournal.wordpress.com. And if you feel inclined to do it and you can't afford it, hit that donate button because we're listener-sponsored. And, advertisers run from the hills in these stories. So let's see what we can do. Have a good weekend, and I'll see you next week on the Investigative Journal.
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188.